Hello, everybody. Happy tax day. Hopefully, give your accountants a break. Go and tip them because it's pretty much hell week for them. Um, Taxes are due, and everybody seems to wait till the deadline to do it. Um, my wife was kind of struggling this afternoon trying to pay my father-in-law's corporate taxes. Um, So kind of a long drawn out story, but I remember back at the middle of March when my taxes were due, um, and I basically just had filed an extension because I couldn't get a hold of my accountant, and I didn't have any taxes to pay. I couldn't figure out how to file a zero return. Um, so I called him. He's like, "Hey, just file an extension and we'll deal with it later." Um, So looking through the forms, I kind of understand why accountants get paid what they do. Not something that I would do. Um, I took a cost accounting class in college and hated every minute of it, even though I'm kind of a math guy. So anyway, I'm not really sure. I think the market was flat. SPX up 9% or 0.09%. DJIA dot DJI. Dow Jones flat. Everything was flat. We're coming into earnings season again. Um, some stocks reported today after the bell. Netflix was a big one. They were kind of back and forth, down 0.5%. Nothing major for them. United Airlines up 2%. Let's go see what UAL did. Um, so they're flipping between calls and puts. Calls are in the lead. 4.86 million to 2 points, so almost twice as many calls. Um, the big kicker today was ISRG, Intuitive Surgical. If you go look at them, and we're going to study them for a minute, ISRG, because they're up over 9% aftermarket. If you look at this daily chart for 6 months, you need to go back to last April to get anywhere near where they are. So let's say 300, they're kind of like right around here, which is where these peaks are. Um, so ISRG was showing calls 4.2 to 2.8 million. Um, if you look at this option chain, so they close it around 270. So these are in the money. These are in the money puts. We have 226.70s, so 400 on the volume side on the calls in the money versus 140 on the put side. But look at these volumes on the 270, 285, all the way up to the 300. You had 1767, 300 calls that were bought. Over on the put side, here's 1,000 at 240. But none of these numbers match what's over on the call side. So this would have been an incredible buy. If you see this 285 volume and this 300 volume, if you split that and go the 290s, well, let's even go the 292s. They were selling for 70 cents. Well, let's go this because it's easier. 290s were selling for $1. So 291 was that break-even price, and they're currently trading at 294. So that's $300 per contract. So it's a triple right there. So like I said, that would have been an amazing one to get. I I want to look at Thursday because Thursday is going to be a pretty interesting day. In the morning, you have AT&T, you have American Express, um, RiteAid, which Alan and I were kind of looking at before we started recording. Fifth Third's another bank, Bank of California. Synovus is another bank. Um, but if
And
we
there's
turn,
Pool, POOL.
what is Pool Corporation? What do they do? I'm not familiar with them. Let's go. I wonder if we can look at them. Pool. Wholesale distributor of swimming pools. That'd be interesting because, as Alan can contest to a little bit later, Vegas was packed. So I think rather than, being stuck at home looking for pools, we'll have to see. But like I said, we were looking at RAD for earnings. Um, they're sitting at 252. They have a huge gap down from 330 down to 250. And if you look at the option chain on that, and let's just go, let's go back to 20. 841 in the money. So 900 in the money, 120 out of the money. Volume on the 3 calls, which maybe a little bit out of the money, um, are only selling for 10, 15 cents. If you look at these 2.5s, these are selling for, let's say, a quarter, 0.25. So as long as RAD goes up to 275, those become in the money. Now, the thing is, these expire in 3 days. And so this is either an all or none kind of thing. You can't, there's no more theta left. Well, there's a day, a Friday. But if RAD doesn't gap up Thursday morning, they're kind of like a lotto thing. So it'd be interesting to play that. I think it'd be worth the risk of spending a quarter just to see what RAD does. And if you look today, they were down 11 cents, which is 4%. So when you say, this quarter move is a 10% move for RAD and for a company this cheap, $2.50, that's um, not too hard to believe or hard to grasp. If we remember State Street, actually, well, let's look at Goldman Sachs first, because I posted this morning about Goldman Sachs. They reported yesterday after the bell, and they were short expectations. Now, my hope was that they did another State Street. And if you look at this green daily chart, it's green. They opened at 328, traded up to 336, I thought, which I think was a 6 or 7% move. If you look at them on the 5-minute chart, they had a fairly decent day. Not as great as State Street. And if we go back to, here's the daily on State Street, they dropped at earnings and they were down like 12%, I believe, at the open, yesterday's open. And they rallied basically from 65 up to 73. Continued their rise today. And let's go look at them on the 5-minute and see how those would have played. 5-minute. So they had a fairly nice day as well. They kind of were flat until, when's this gap? 11 a.m. and that's Eastern time. So these would have been a nice one to ride along today. Um, so it's Tuesday. You got two nice green candles. You got a gap up to 80. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I was in this trade, if I would have been alerted to it and would have been on the ball when Alan signaled it Monday. Um, I probably would have taken profit. I don't know if I'd hold for another third green day. Um, Alan, your thoughts? So you were in the trade Monday.
I had 20 contracts on Monday, and I went ahead and carried them over, sold 10 of them off, and then I sold the other 10 off later today. Um,
Okay.
it's I gotta think 75 is the top on that.
75, which is right here, which is kind of in this area here. If you drew a box, and I don't know, can
Mhm.
I draw not a channel necessarily? I wonder what this channel does.
The other trade I was in is the defense stocks were doing it. I had 50 contracts of RTX. Bring that up on a 2 day.
Yeah, let's go. And they just reported earnings Monday. They've been doing fairly well. I think they reported earnings on Monday. R RTX. Oh no, April 25th. Who did I see that had earnings? Hmm.
LMT.
LMT. So they report, RTX reports next weekend. LMT, Lockheed Martin. Yes. Oh, they reported this morning. Um,
Yeah. But see,
let's,
this is like using sister companies, expecting LMT to go up. All the defense stocks went up today.
yeah, what is that? A rising tide lifts all. Oh, and yeah, look at that gap. 2.5% today. Um, LMT is quite expensive, $500 stock. Um,
Yeah, but you can get the option pretty cheap. You can get it for like 450 for like 100 shares.
LMT. Oh, and you know what? I have to keep track of the time. 1,000. Yeah, look at all those calls in the money. Let's go look at that. One thing I wanted to mention, and once I roll this out, and I'm gonna need a meeting to discuss how to roll this out because Apple's kind of funny. But if we were to look at RAD, I mean, look at
Mm-hmm.
all these RADs. Instead of typing RAD, I could type in RiteAid and go right to the stock. So it does it that way as well. Um, they were 2-1 on the call side today. LMT. Um, is it working? And if you notice, it went from puts to calls. It's looking at all of these strikes and I believe goes from the lowest strike up. They're 7-1 on the call side today. Um,
Mm-hmm.
RTX. And again, another one, RAYTH, Raytheon. All that's chugging. So let me look at SPX on the daily. We're somewhat bullish. Looking at 4,200 as kind of a top. We've kind of recovered since February. Um, we'll see. what the market does. So, so are you still in RTX or just a day trade
No,
today?
I sold that at 10 o'clock. No, 10:15. Made a couple thousand on it. That was a great trade. Um, I kind of I used the 10 o'clock and kind of like watched it, and it took a drop after 10, going in 10:15. So I took the profits on it. It actually dropped all the way down to 104.
Yeah,
Um, and then I had the 105 calls, and then it came back some, like 104.50 or something.
interesting. You know, when you mentioned the 105s which were just out of the money on this chart. Um, and why did this chart move? If you're in the calls here, the 105s, this drop is going to be pretty brutal because
Mhm.
there's hope that this can reach 105s. But as soon as this starts dropping, that hope dissipates. So odds are the 105s here are a lot cheaper than the 105s here. So you kind of
Uh, look at that trade. Bring up RTX again. Now,
RT.
following the 5 minute. Oh, you just had it. Now look at that. Checking out the 5 minute rule. So you should have. I held this overnight, but look at that first 5 minute bar.
Yeah, it's a huge bar.
But you notice, bring your line across. You never had a signal to sell because it always went through. It never broke it. All I'm trying to say is you would have held it, and then you would have held, and then right around 10 o'clock, you can see that's the high point of the day.
Yeah, 1020. Yeah. Yeah, I never fully retraced this first 5 minute candle. So anyway, anything else you looking at?
No, those are two. I was looking. So what I'm looking for the end of the week, right? Rad, I would uh, be looking at the $3, $4 calls, and I guess I like U.S. Steel, possibly as a short on Wednesday and Thursday.
Hmm, X short going into the weekend.
Well, I'm just thinking, but see, the issue is I don't have any positions now. I'm just going by. We're due for a short day. We haven't had it yet, so I think there's profit taking going on.
Yeah, and if you look at gosh, I wish I could. Here's the 20-day SMA. Is this the 3 month chart? Yeah. And we're kind of reaching a ceiling right here. If you notice, we bumped into it here, kind of then dropped below the 20 SMA, reclaimed it. Now we're above it. Yeah, I can see that kind of retracing back. Um, and the 20-day SMA is 25.58. And we're up to, so drop $1. Hmm.
That's hard to say, but yeah, it's just my thoughts on that. The trades that worked well, State Street, really good as a long option. I mean, I look at the results. So State Street barely missed. I mean, they basically hit, and they missed like by nothing. And so to be down 15, 17%, you knew it'd come back. So
Right,
that
yeah.
was a no-brainer. Um, I would watch the airline stocks tomorrow. I wouldn't be against going long UAL or Delta
And Delta's DAL, I think.
DAL.
Yeah, Delta and
Save, yeah.
Spirit.
Love, LUV. Those are your big ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So defense and
Airline stocks.
airlines.
That's what I'm thinking. So, hey, it sounds good. I saw you were busy over there with Matthew. So,
Right. Well, you know, when I mentioned it earlier, maybe last week or the week before about so I have two kids in middle school, and the middle school musical is actually opening weekend is Thursday. So it's been kind of crazy here at our house. Um, so yeah, look to earnings, Morgan Stanley, and you don't need to play earnings per se, like Alan did with State Street. You know, see how it reacts. Anything that's down 10-15%, they're getting punished. So odds are people look to those as buying opportunities. Um,
yeah.
like I said, I had hoped that Goldman Sachs would have moved as much as State Street post earnings, but it didn't. It moved 2%, I think. Um, so keep an eye. We're kind of in the middle of earnings season. So there's some good candidates out there um, to trade with. Baker Hughes, Synchronicity, Travelers. That might be a
Mm-hmm.
good one. So yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. I I mentioned as this thing, we're back into snow, but I think we're gonna get up into the 40s, 50s by the end of the week, maybe 60s. So it's Wisconsin for you. So uh, not quite summer yet. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys get some information out of this. We're here to help. Any questions, anything you guys need, just feel free to holler and we'll kind of go from there. Um, so hopefully I can get
Sounds
this
good, Brian.
hopefully I can get this iOS app out soon, even if it is in the testing phase. So keep an ear out for that. So with that said, everybody have a good night, good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye,
All
everyone.
right, sounds all right.
Bye, Alan.
Bye, Brian.